Hello, everyone. Welcome to 22nd Century Consciousness. I'm your host, Christine McIver, here on the Inspired Choices Network. And I have a wonderful guest with me, Lisa Benitz, and we're going to be talking about consciousness. We're going to be talking about the future. So let's go. All right. So Lisa Benitz. Who is Lisa Benitz and what's she all about? Well, Lisa Benitz is a host here on the Inspired Choices Network. Lisa has been with us for a number of years, creating amazing content and also really changing the world with what she has been doing. And it's absolutely amazing to see all of what she's been doing. I'm going to formally read you her bio, and then we will get into our conversation. So, as I said, she is the host of Infinite Energies, and she is the owner of Infinite Energies. Lisa is a mover and a shaker. She's a radio show host. She's someone that is traveling the world, creating change through spaces. Creating conscious spaces is one of her specialties that she's working with throughout all sorts of different places and spaces, and we'll talk about that. Lisa also works with people regarding their bodies, relationship, money, business, and healing. She really does believe that there are infinite possibilities with infinite energies. She embodies kindness and caring and isn't afraid to show up even when you are. Her radio show is a place without judgment, packed full of fun and possibilities. And she invites you to let go of excuses and justifications and choose for you. You can connect with Lisa at infiniteenergies.ca. Of course, here on the website, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. Lisa's everywhere. So, officially welcome, Lisa.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm really grateful to be here. And oh my goodness, I'm grateful for this invitation to talk about inspiring people to raise more consciousness in the universe. And for me, it's been through spaces, which is really exciting.
Yeah, that is very cool. So I've got a question for you before we jump in. When you heard me say 22nd Century Consciousness, what was the first thought that came to your mind?
It's really interesting. I actually haven't, and it's funny, at some point in the last, I don't know, few years, the numbers hasn't really registered as far as the 20th century, the 22nd century, and yet I'm aware that that's for the future. So,
right.
So it's being aware of what we're creating now, and what we can what we create now is an opening of possibilities for the future. And so that excites me, and it seems so far away, 22nd, and yet it's not.
And yet it's not, right. It's like we're here and we're there and we're in now and we're in the future simultaneously.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So Lisa, tell us about what you're creating on your radio show that's contributing to consciousness.
Well, thank you. I actually, one of the things that I invite people to be more conscious of is their spaces and how they can change their life through their spaces. And people often wonder, well, I live in a space, I have a space, this is my space. And yet with their spaces, there's an energy that will never lie, that will always unravel the truth of whatever's going on in your life. And so if you're desiring more with your life, with your business, with your future, with changing, and for me, I say changing the world one space at a time. And a space isn't just the space of where you're living, working, or playing in. It's the space of your body. It's the space of what's going on up here. It's the space of, for example, your radio station. It's the space of whatever you determine at that particular time, whatever that space that you're in.
Okay.
And so when we can actually shift the perspective of our spaces, it's all about perspective. So some people say, well, I live in a really small space, and yet if we can expand and be more space ourselves, all of a sudden that really limited small space becomes really actually spacious, open, and free. And I've played with this one particular technique with people. If they imagine getting into an elevator, and they get on the first floor, and then on the fifth floor 4 more people get on, and as they're going higher and higher, the elevator seems to get that less space for their body, and there's more people. And so as a lot of people's bodies start to do this, and they get almost to the point of being claustrophobic.
Right.
And I say, well, what if you could just imagine there's more space between the molecules than you've ever imagined? And as they acknowledge that there is more space,
Right.
and they can be space, then that panic, then that claustrophobic energy is no longer there. And they realize that we're all just space.
Okay, so in doing these exercises and realizing that we are space and we have the capacity to do that, how is that contributing to the future of consciousness?
Well, if we look at the world population, it's over 6 billion people. And a lot of people say we're overpopulated, we're running out of. And so when we get into that global perspective, and we read the newspaper, we listen to the news, and people are like, trauma and drama, this is happening, this is happening. If we can just imagine that there is space, even on Mother Earth, there's space.
Right.
She breathes, and things move and shift. And so what if we could all imagine that things shift? And so where one country might seem to have a higher population than others, Mother Earth balances it.
Okay.
Balances it through tsunamis, through cyclones, through landslides, through mudslides, through earthquakes, through forest fires. She has her own balancing act, where in this reality we go into, oh my God, that's so traumatic. But she has a way of balancing the space of Earth.
Okay. So how is us getting space? How is this contributing to consciousness for the future?
It's a tool. It's
Right.
actually a tool, so that we're not buying into the trauma and drama. And it's actually a way of saying, okay, so what can we create, knowing what we know today? What can we create now consciously, not unconsciously? So if you look at a developer going in and clear cutting the land of the trees, and then putting up cookie cutter houses, they're in a sense, they are doing this. They're sandwiching people in. Whereas a conscious developer will give the land space for all of our bodies. Our bodies do require space. We actually require being in touch with Mother Earth. The reading the green, and stepping onto the grass, and walking through parks. So when you think about a holiday or a beach or the ocean or walking into a forest or a mountain, our bodies get excited about being outside. So automatically, when we're aware of space,
Mm-hmm.
and what lights our bodies up, then we can actually consciously create beautiful developments, even if it's an apartment building, we create green space around there that acknowledges what our bodies desire. So space is a balancing act, and Mother Earth is balancing.
Right.
And so consciously, as a developer or an architect or a designer, you're actually consciously working with, as opposed to against.
Okay.
So
We have some questions. So the first question is space required for creating the future?
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, let me put it out there that all creation has if you go into the brain, most people in this reality are like thinkers, and they sort of go into like creating, oh, I'm going here, I'm going here, I'm going here. Well, there's an infinite possibilities up here in the brain. It's as much as you want to put in there. And so, yes, there's a space, but it's not like a locker where we put in things into a locker and the locker room's full. It doesn't work that way. The information and the creation, the creative energy will continue to flow as long as you are open to being in that space of continuously asking questions. So my question to those that are asking is, as long as you're in question, is there space for all your new creations?
So another question is, without being space, can we actually create a future?
Well, great question. So let me ask this person, whoever's asking the question, if we're actually having the space on concluding, okay, so when we conclude something, we're actually concluding that this is what my life is going to look like. I've married this person, I've got these number of kids, I live in this house, I create this income, so this is all I'm having. 2 weeks of vacation, blah, blah, blah. That's a space of creation. You've created that as your future because you've determined this is my future. And that person will live out their life and they will die at age 80 because they've already determined, because the rest of my family has died off at age 80 and I've had a heart attack. So it runs in my family, blah, 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 right?
Yes.
So that's a creation of a future. So yes, when you're in that space of possibility of future creation, then all of a sudden this falls away. And can you imagine, it's like those little tentacles of an octopus, they just keep adding on. It's like if you could imagine plants crawling up a wall, and there's different ways that plant can go up the wall. Those are different opportunities. Those are different possibilities of creation. And you haven't closed the door to any of them. So we can go through 20 doors. We can go through 100 doors. We can go through thousands of doors of possibilities. So for me, I'm all about putting out as many doors as possible in front of me to play with. And it's not just one door, because one door for me is kind of boring.
Yes. If you don't know, if you're not connected with Lisa on Facebook, you won't maybe know that she absolutely loves doors. In fact, I went on a trip and I was taking it to Barcelona, and I took a whole bunch of pictures of doors to send to her because I knew how much she loved doors.
I do.
Yeah,
In fact, my son was teasing me that on Instagram, he goes, wow, you've got a lot of door pictures.
You do have a lot of door pictures, and that's okay. So Lisa, what do you think, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about what is holding people back from choosing consciousness?
Wow. Well, there's a lot of people that are choosing consciousness, and yet they're not necessarily acting on it, which is...
Say more.
So they can buy all the books in the world and they can read all this and they can follow different people and they get excited and they go, oh yes, I like that and I like that. And then in this reality, they go into this, they force themselves to go to that 9-to-5 job that fits into a set parameter. And so they're doing one thing over here that really is fun and light and creative. And on the other hand, they're going into this constrictive energy on a day-to-day basis. So what I'm seeing more of, which is really cool, is this creative energy is getting infused into the companies that are being closed in the past. And so when we can infuse that consciousness energy, do you see it, the energy of how everything starts to open up? And so more and more creative companies are almost, it's like a new division is opening up that might be more creative. It might be more lucrative. It might be bringing more money in for the company. And yet the companies are going, well, this doesn't make sense. We've never done this before. And yet this is the most fun, the most creative branch of the company that we've ever seen. And they're infusing new, young, creative mindset. And young isn't necessarily an age. It's just the willingness to push away all those barriers, those perceived walls, and go, okay, so really, truthfully, what is fun? What is light? And what's going to create so much more that I can infuse that consciousness energy into everything I do, into my buildings, into my projects, into my designs, into the clients that I work with, to say, let's take out all the walls and really open up the doorways of possibilities into seeing what else is possible in your life. And with that, just that energetic shift, that is going to open up consciousness worldwide, and that excites me.
So people aren't willing to change what they're doing in order to receive, and they're what you're saying is, we're buying the books, we're taking the courses, but we're not actually embodying consciousness?
Oh, no. Actually, I'm saying that they're taking the courses, they've got the book,
right.
For example, in this reality, and yet all the books that they've been studying on consciousness, they're now starting to infuse that energy and playing with the structure over here. And they're going, okay, but let me be the wedgie in the structure and start to raise.
Okay, so that's the people that are choosing consciousness. The ones that are not choosing it, what do you think's holding them back from that?
Their perceived perception that if they choose something out of the box, what's going to happen? It's sort of that energy of, like, I remember many years ago, I mean, it was the Y2K, oh my gosh, the world is going to collapse, we're going to fall apart. And
yes.
So that was the closed mind, where there was all these other people going, oh no, this is just, there's so much more. And if we think about computers many, many years ago, we had the big, huge floppy disks, to where we are now. We're into memory and creating, and we talked about this memory. Well, terabyte. Like, can you imagine? It wasn't, that wasn't at our parents' age, a terabyte. They didn't even know, like, computers wasn't even.
It sounds like a bug.
It sounds like a bug. So the doorways of possibilities are endless. They're infinite. Right. And that's really, the more that we can bring those thought leaders, those consciousness leaders into the mix, and it's becoming more mainstream, which is really cool.
Yes.
People are talking about consciousness. They're bringing it into the school system. So
yes,
it is there. And
it's coming.
Those that are in, like you said, that are resisting, the more you resist, guess what? The more
show up. So, Lisa, you've been traveling around the world. I mean, you're just back from Brazil, Paris, France. Where else?
The Netherlands.
Netherlands. Where else have you been? Like
India. Yeah.
Right. You've been, like, in the last year. I don't even know. I mean, I'm one of the closest people to you, and I still can't keep track of all of your locations. Yeah. So tell me something in your travels, and I know you're doing your class, Creating Conscious Spaces, and I do want to talk about that for a minute, but in all of your travels, are you experiencing differences of consciousness, of the way that people are in different countries? Is it different than where you are in Canada?
You know what? I'm grateful for this question. It doesn't matter the culture. It doesn't matter the language. It doesn't matter the geographical location. Everyone, it really is being pushed, and it's an energy, and I get that it's like a big tsunami wave that's coming, and it's been coming for a long time and building up. We can't deny that consciousness is here, and people are demanding it. And for those that are sitting there saying that this isn't right, this isn't happening, I'm thrilled to say that energy is just coming so fast and building up so much that it's pushing that down. And the beauty of the people that I've met is everybody's excited about knowing that there's possibility for so many things out there. And I'll just give you a little story. I was at a train station. I got off too early at a train station, and I'm sitting there, and there's two young men there. And I started to chat with them, and they were both from Beirut, and they said that they wanted to leave their country because they didn't believe in the political sort of things that were going on and what was expected as a young man, that they had to go to war, and it wasn't a belief system for them. And they saw this beautiful possibility of coming to France and seeing that they could create a life and a family life for themselves. It was the most eye-opening conversation I've had with two incredibly beautiful young men that were just sitting at the train station. And the fact that we sat and had this beautiful conversation, Canada and Beirut, and we openly talked about what was going on in their country and how they'd lost friends, and we were all in tears. And I just said, I'm so grateful for this conversation, that you have given me hope to see that generation that you represent isn't what the country is saying in the media. So
Right.
Whatever you see in media is so inflated, is so not, it's not representative.
It's not a real representation.
And I'm so grateful for those conversations. So traveling around the world, for me, I always seem to draw in people that are interested about talking about the space of consciousness, the space of where they live, work, and play in, that they can adjust that and actually within their own personal spaces raise consciousness.
Right.
So I'm saying changing the world one space at a time.
Right. And so that's what you're doing with your class, creating conscious spaces.
Absolutely. There are people from all walks of life, all languages, that come to these classes, whether they are professional architect, interior designer, developer, real estate agent, or they're a grandparent or young kids. I have a whole gamut of people that come because everybody has a space for their body and their business. And what if we could shift and change the way people perceive their lives, their future creations, through their spaces? And so it all came down to creating conscious spaces, and that's followed me around, and I'm thrilled to see it continuously grow. It has become a worldwide movement, and I'm pretty excited, actually.
And so you should be. You've been doing amazing with it. It's fabulous. Okay, well, we are going to be wrapping up in just a few minutes. The conversation goes quite quickly.
Yeah.
Lisa, what's the one thing that you would like to invite listeners and viewers to, in order for them to create or contribute rather more to the future of consciousness?
Wow. So wherever you are in the world, wherever you're sitting or driving or walking, wherever this finds you, just check in with yourself and ask, is one person in the space of possibility for change in the future? Can one person be that little pebble in the water? When you drop that pebble in, do you see the ripple effect? And so anytime you go into the space of how can I possibly be the energetic wedgie or shift or change for something greater in life, I'm really going to invite you to get out of that I'm all by myself, because we have over 6 billion people. And yes, that one person, you can be the change. You can be that pebble that changes and has that ripple effect for everything. So my hope, my dream, my inspiration is to empower as many people to know that that can be shifted with your spaces. And if you shift that one space, imagine all the other people that walk through that space that go, oh, I love what you've done, or I love the energy of this space. What is that? And then can you imagine if we have that one space shifted, how we can shift all the other spaces in the universe?
Yeah.
And it's just like, my body just goes, oh, it just gets relaxed, and I get excited to see how many more spaces can we shift. And when we shift those spaces, yeah, there's a domino effect around the world that we can shift.
That's amazing.
And that excites me.
Lisa, there's over 7.6 billion people in the world.
Oh, thanks for the update. 7.6 billion. Woohoo.
7.6, and it continues to grow.
And every one of those bodies loves space.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I'm going to tell you now about the amazing package that Lisa is offering for all of our viewers and listeners just through this summit. So first of all, we've got Creating Conscious Spaces and Relationships. It's in both English and French translation. It's an hour and a half of audio recordings. You're going to be receiving that immediately, and that's a value of $75. Then she has Creating Conscious Spaces and Money, again, English and French translations, audio recordings for an hour and a half, a value of $75. Then we have a personal consultation with Lisa over Zoom, so you can do it from anywhere in the world. And she is going to be doing that half-hour consultation with you, and that's valued at $300. You're going to get a full recording, and you'll be able to have that again and again. And Lisa can actually check in with your spaces, whether she's physically there in person or not. It's really crazy, and it really is true. So the value of Lisa's package is $450, and you can receive that for only $197. Like that's more, that's like 60% savings. Like that's phenomenal. And I'm telling you, for somebody that has had her check in on my space, she spent maybe 5 minutes, and what she can do in 30 minutes will blow your mind. So you'll get this link in the replays. It'll be going out tonight, and you'll be able to take advantage of that and all the other friggin' amazing conversations and packages that we've been going on. Like seriously, Lisa, I want to purchase every package. They're all really, really potent. And some of them are previously recorded, and some of them are classes that are coming up, and lots of amazing personal sessions. I'm like, oh wow. And it's everyone has been incredibly generous, and to think that all of these leaders are talking about consciousness, are willing to contribute to everyone's future, and also offer these phenomenal packages to kind of give everybody a boost forward with it. It is phenomenal. It's actually really blows my mind. I'm incredibly humbled by what each and every one of you are doing. So thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you everyone for joining us. I appreciate your contributions, and come back today at 3 p.m. So in 3.5 hours, we're going to be speaking with Keisha Clark. And Keisha is a fabulous woman. She's been with us on the network for so long, and she's taken a little hiatus, and we're so great to have her come back and play with us. So we can't wait to have that next conversation. And then tonight, guess who's being interviewed?
Ooh.
Me.
Ooh, oh, how beautiful.
I'm being interviewed, and then we have our brand new host that's joining us this month, Sherilyn, and she's going to be talking to us too about what she's doing. So we've got a fun packed day.
More space.
And then tomorrow as well. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for your time today, Lisa. And
and I'll see all of you out there somewhere in the universe, and I look forward to meeting your spaces.
Fabulous. Bye for now.
Bye.